All right, so welcome. For those of you that don't know me, my name is Nicole. I am a tax assessor here in Oakland. I've been here for the last 3+ years, I think. Before that, I was the tax assessor in Camden, and before that, I worked for Maine Revenue Services in the unorganized territory during the tax assessing there. I've been doing this for about 23 years. So with that, go to the next one. What is revaluation? I mean, you guys have heard this. I think there's been plenty in the news about neighboring towns having revaluations. What is it? Why do we do it? That's what I want to go over. So when it comes right down to it, it's a program that the municipality undertakes that is going to appraise all the properties that we have, every single one of them in the whole town, at their market value. And so we're looking at fair market value for all properties, so that when we take that amount of taxes that needs to be raised by the town, we apportion it out based on what your market value is on your house. So if your house is worth double what mine is, you're going to pay double the taxes that I do. So it's just a rebalancing of that tax burden, and it is a revenue neutral thing in and of itself. So the town spends the money that they're going to spend, and that goes through the budget committee, and it goes through the council and the county. All the money that you're going to spend. The revaluation does not raise any ounce of money above that. So that is what you're going to spend. All this does is how it's distributed to each and every taxpayer. Go to the next one. The reason why we're doing this, right? So Maine's Constitution requires us.
Bonnie.
So Maine's Constitution requires us that all taxes upon real and personal estate assessed by the state shall be apportioned equally and according to the just value. So this big word just value in statute, it's littered throughout our statute as just value, just value, just value. The courts have said over and over, that means your market value. So what they mean by equal in this thing is that everyone gets the same tax rate, no matter if you're a homeowner or if you're a business, you have the same tax rate. Personal property, everything in the whole town has the same tax rate. That's what they mean by equally. And then according to just value means at your just value. They want you to be at 100%. Our state statutes then go in and require us that we have to be above 70 and we can't be above 110. So the reason that we're really doing this is because we've dropped below the 70% mark. We are not, when you look at the assessed value and you divide that by the sales price, we're below 70% for most properties. Not all, but for most. The other thing that they require in state statute is that you have a quality rating of at least of under 20. So that quality rating, what the quality rating is measuring is if you had 10 sales and your median is at, let's pretend we're right at 70, right? 70%, that's what the median ratio is for that sale in the middle. And then the ones above it are at 71 and 73 and 75. The ones below it are close to that 70%. That has good quality rating. Your quality rating is going to be very low. When you get further away and you have some that are at 40% and some that are 120%, that's when we don't have anybody at 120. So please don't worry about that. But that's when our quality rating drops, and we're not fair. We're not doing this fairly to the other properties. So our quality rating right now, we are still under 20. We're not above that mark, so we're fine with that. But we have dropped below our 70% for our ratio. And so that's what state law requires for us. Really what we're trying to do is do it fairly based on the tax policy that the state has. I mean, everybody is at market value. So we're trying to get everyone to market value so that they don't pay any more or any less than what they should be paying based on that. And then it also, on the same thing, it corrects the disproportionate tax. So the market changes all the time, right? So in the last 4 years, we have seen the residential market take on. And there's certain places in town that sell for more money than other places in town if it was the same house. So what we're trying to do is that because you're not impacted the same way for your market value, we want to make sure that everyone's happy. So I think that's all I have to say about that. And the supply and demand that we've got going on right now, there's a very small supply for the demand that we have for residential homes especially. The revaluation process, I think this was laid out very well in the letter that was mailed out to all of you guys. But the first step is that data collection step. So we have hired a third-party contractor to do that step, well, to really get all the values for us. But they are going to be coming out and visiting every single property in town. They are going out and they were looking at all kinds of different components of the buildings and measuring them and making sure they have them listed correctly. After that, they do what's called a sales review and validation. So what that means is they're validating, is this a good sale to use for this study? Is it a neighboring sale? Because a neighbor might pay more or less depending upon your relationship with your neighbor. Then it's fair market value. Is it a family sale? If it's a family sale, we're not going to use that one because chances are it's not a true indicator of what the value is. So things like that. So we just have to validate that the sales are right. The third step that they're going to do is called a market analysis evaluation. So what they're going to do there is you're going to gather information from developers. You're going to gather information, obviously, from the sales and the main listings kind of stuff. But you're also going to talk to real estate professionals and property managers to find out all the details and the real, for the property managers, the income and the expenses that they have to really try and get down at what that value should do. And then they're going to look at the three approaches to value that we have. So we have the cost approach, which is how much is it going to cost to replace it, less the depreciation. They're going to look at the income approach, so that's only for obviously income generating properties. So it's not going to work on my house. I know it's not going to work on your guys' house, right? So it's just going to be mostly for businesses there. And then they're also going to look at the sales comparison approach. So that's comparing your home to a home like it that's just sold. They're going to use those three approaches, and then they're going to create cost tables to then enter into our computer system and then cost these out. And then the next one is the field review to make sure those cost tables make sense. They're going to take the ones that have recently sold and take them out there and say, okay, this is what we have in the cost tables. This is what we have everywhere. Does this make sense for what's on the ground and what the sale was? And then after that, they will send a letter to everyone indicating their proposed values. The proposed value letters won't be going out until next year. So it's probably going to be over a year from now that those will go out. And then there'll be informal hearings. So those informal hearings is a chance for everyone to say, well, no, something's wrong on my property because it can't self-it. It wouldn't self-it. Really, I advise everyone when they get to that point to make sure they get a proper, not just see what that value is on the sheet, because I think the mailings are pretty generic. It has like your name and your lot. This is your proposed land value. This is your proposed building value. I encourage you all at that point to make sure you get a copy of your property record card and look down through it, and I'll go through it with you if you don't understand what it says. And we can go through and make sure that all the information there is correct. We have the right number of bathrooms. We should have that, right? But things get data entered wrong sometimes, right? I had that thing of mistake once that I looked at it and I was like, why is this house so expensive? It had 14 bathrooms in it and I meant to have one. Just my finger slipped and it hit that, right? So these things always happen. So I would encourage you to get your property record card, review it, make sure all the information is correct on it, and then go from there when you're going to the informal hearings. I will be sitting in on all the informal hearings with the third party, the contract party that we hired to do the revaluation process. So I will be hearing those as well. I think it's important. I also will be doing weekly check-ins with them as they get closer to what they're doing, what they're seeing. And I am going to be reviewing, obviously not every single parcel because I don't have the time to do that, but I'm going to review the things that look out of whack to me or the things that I've seen in other towns that they've had issues with. I'm going to make sure that I review those kind of things too before we actually commit the taxes. So after the informal hearings are done, they may lower that value or they may say, no, I really think this is what your house would sell for. And then after that, we're going to calculate the new mill rate because the mill rate will change. And then taxes will be committed at that point. So,
They're gonna be committed later than August.
yes, we are gonna process in the time. The first August tax bill, I think, we're gonna be first due in October.
Yeah.
And then push.
So it's
back.
gonna change our quarterly
Just for
schedule.
the 1 year probably, but that
Yeah.
quarterly, the payment due date's slightly different.
Yeah.
For next year, again, I just want to say that this is the 2026 project. This is not going to affect your tax bills this year. Your tax bills this year are still on the values that we had last year, or if you built something new, obviously that might change. But that's it. Did I see a question from there? Yeah.
Step 5. You had an informal hearing. Is that your, as a homeowner, my appeal process?
No, so that's an informal hearing with the contractor, right? And I will sit in on all of them. After taxes are committed, there's a formal abatement.
The process is,
That process, you have to make the application to me as the assessor within 185 days of the commitment of taxes. And you have to prove to me why it's wrong. Sometimes it's as easy as, they have the wrong bathroom count or something like that. Those are very easy, but you have to bring proof of what your value should be if you think it's wrong. And that proof could be like, okay, these neighboring houses just sold and this is how much they sold for and mine is equivalent. Yes.
Good question.
Yeah.
The mill rate is actually what's gonna dictate how much we end up paying for. Correct.
It's a portion of it, and I'm gonna touch on that a lot here. So, yes, the mill rate absolutely matters. Okay,
Okay, moving on.
so I want to talk about data collection just a little bit more here. These are just a sample of the different things that they're looking for when they're going to your home. So you're looking at the style of the home. Is it a ranch home? Is it a log home? What style is it? They're looking at the quality of construction. They're looking at the condition that it's in, like is it in really poor condition and it needs a lot of work to it, or is it really pristine condition? They're looking at the materials that are used in the construction. So do you have a metal roof? Do you have a shingle roof? Do you have a full basement? Do you have a slab? Those kinds of things. The year built, the square footage, and then the outbuildings. You're kind of looking for a lot of this information on the outbuilding. So a deck, they would measure your deck to make sure we have the right square footage on it. A lot of what we're doing here is driven by square feet. Interior wise, you're looking again at the quality and the condition that it is, that the home is in. They're looking at the bedroom and the bathroom count, the finishes, the floor finishes, but also other things like, do you have custom trim work or is it just, regular trim work? Do you have custom cabinets in your kitchen or is it stock cabinets at Home Depot? That kind of stuff is what they're looking for. What type of heating do you have? And do you have air conditioning? Do you not have air conditioning, or what type of air conditioning do you have? And then other amenities like extra kitchens, extra plumbing fixtures and fireplaces. Yes, sir.
What about the, say you're under renovation or you have a build going on?
Yep.
Is that going to be assessed based on the finished product or will
Nope.
it be assessed based on?
We assess as of April 1st.
Okay.
So whatever was there on April 1st is what we assess. So let's say you were building a brand new house on April 1st, all that was there was a slab. Then all they're gonna tax is a slab. So we do have a very lengthy list of the different things that are done. So, if you have this, and this done, it's, 16% complete and so forth. So there is a long list of things that are there, but no, you won't be taxed on something that's not finished or that's, if on that April 1st, you are in the middle of a rehab, we'll come out, we'll look at it and make sure we get it the right time.
Perfect.
2026 is the one we're talking. Yep.
And then, so say you come through on April 1st, it's not complete.
Yep.
There's gonna be a reassessment at a later date or how would that?
Yeah, so I would again, before the next assessment. And at that point, it's gonna be me and Christine are gonna come in and look at it and make sure we have it valued correctly and in the system correctly. Okay. So, I just did a few frequently asked questions just to kind of get ahead of it before you guys ask any of them here. So who's conducting our revaluation? So we've engaged KRT Appraisal to conduct the reval. So it includes residential, commercial, and industrial properties. It's going to be everybody. So everyone is probably going to have a different value next year. I will say this though, Christine and I will be involved with them, and we will be having discussions back and forth about things. So it's not just like, oh, they're gonna do it and then get the number, we're gonna use it. It's not like that. We are gonna be involved with them and knowing what's going on and where the issues might lie.
Where are they from?
So they are a company out of Massachusetts. They have done, I think in the last 5 years, they've done like 30 different revals in the state of Maine. So while they are located in Massachusetts, I think a lot of their business right now is Maine municipalities.
And there isn't a company in Maine that
And
does
we
revals.
put this out to bid. They were our only bidder. We put it out for an RFP and we had no takers from any other companies that are doing it. And there's not a lot of revaluation companies that take on towns this size that are from Maine. I know right now they're also working in Farmington and Monmouth and Bangor, I think currently doing revals as well.
What are they charging?
$325,000, but we've budgeted it, that even a word, for the last 3 years. So next budget year, we only have to put in $27,000 because we've already paid ahead.
Words in our coffers.
Yeah.
I will say this about it is that, being out of state, everyone says, well, they're just gonna bring Massachusetts values here, and that's not what they do, because they have to look at our sales and make everything work with our sales here in town. So they don't even look to other towns. They're looking at Oakland sales. I think that's good for that one. So one of the questions I get a lot is, I'm not letting somebody in my property, in my house. I'm not gonna do it. So how are they gonna assess? And the answer is like, they're gonna get to as many houses as they can, they'll ask. And if you say no, you say no, you don't have to let them in. Please know that. After that, they are going to, oh, I'm on the wrong one. I'm looking at my other one.
Uh-oh.
I lied. All right, we'll get to that one. What if I haven't improved my property? The fact of the matter is, even if you've done no improvements to your property, the real estate market in the last 4 to 5 years has changed the value. It absolutely has. So we're looking really at the sales in the marketplace. What something like your house has sold for is really what we're looking for. And so we're trying to extrapolate that to everyone. This next one, why revalue? Why do this revaluation when the market is high? And I get this question a lot. The fact of the matter is we have to do it now. Our last full revaluation, anybody have a guess of when it was? 1996. We're 30 years out. Most towns do them a lot sooner than now. Our inventory is poor. When Christine and I go out to visit someone because they have a new deck or something like that, and they pull this permit, sometimes the previous owner didn't pull permit for the work they did. So there's also a porch and a gazebo and all these other things that never got picked up. And so, or we'll go out and they say, well, we have a new deck. And you look at the house when we get there and it says, oh, this is in perfect condition. And we're like, this is not in perfect condition. Or this is depreciated and deteriorated a lot. So those changes can go either way. But basically it's like I mentioned earlier, the state law says we can't be below 70. We also can't be above 110. So if the market does drop, we will have to come down. It is much easier for me as an assessor to come down when I know my inventory is good. If I have no idea if I'm really taxing the right square footage or if I'm really taxing sheds that have been gone for 20 years or barns that have been gone for 20 years, it's very hard for me to say, oh yeah, we're gonna do this, we're gonna bring it down or bring it up again, right? Like let's say the market takes off again next year, let's hope not, but let's pretend it does. It's easier for us to raise those values and do it in our system without doing a full revaluation when we know that inventory is really good. Now we can go to the next one, which is what do we do when they haven't come inside? They're gonna estimate when they can't go inside. If you don't want them inside, you don't have to let them inside, like I said. The data collectors will try and get to what they can. And we have a pretty good inventory. Well, I'm gonna say we have our best inventory we have, right, of your property. So the last time it was in 1996, there was 3 bathrooms and 4 bedrooms, and it was 2,600 square feet, and it was a ranch house with a full basement, but the basement wasn't finished. you know, while they are there, as they're walking up to a house, they'll check, is it still vinyl siding, is it still a metal roof, that kind of stuff, or has that changed? When you tell them, nope, you can't come in my house, I would advise people to say, no, I don't want to let you in, but can I verify the details with you? Because if they go through and they read the property record card to you, you can verify those details with them without letting them into the home. Yep.
How do they schedule the viewing inside?
The viewing inside, so they will be sending out postcards that say basically, we're gonna be in your area in the next 45 days. Because we're too big of a town to make appointments. If they knock on your door a day that you're not there, they will leave a little card. Usually they leave a little card. I'm not exactly sure what their process is. But if they don't get in the day of, they'll look around the outside and measure things if they can. If you guys will allow them to do that, right? And then they will then follow up with another postcard asking. So there is a want to get into as many houses as we can. Obviously, we know it's not gonna happen. Some people are uncomfortable with it, and I understand it. If you verify the details with them, or if you see that they've come and you weren't home and you don't really want to let them in, but you want to call me and verify the details with me, you can do that as well. And then they're gonna make an estimate. I mean, I'm usually outside of your house, matches the inside of your house. Not always, we don't know that. If it's sold in the last 10 years, we could probably go online and view pictures of your home. All the sales pictures are on there forever, it feels like. But really, just being upfront and trying to get the right information to them really helps in this process, so that we can make sure they get something. We'll go to the next one. Oh, and one last thing on that, your property record cards are always available in the town office, so if you want a copy of it, I will send it to you. I'll go over it with you if you need that. Yep.
They're also online.
Probably too, once you get there.
What about for those residents, if there's been a lot of like talk that don't want them for their property at all? What are the liabilities? There's one or two people there and when measuring, are they given the time of day, if it's home or not home? How does that impact if something was to happen, slip, fall, is that on the town?
Well, some do have business insurance, so they are fully insured.
But they will be there measuring and outside.
You can leave them alone. You can ask them to leave if you don't want them there at all.
I personally ask, I'm just curious.
Yeah. You can ask them to, I mean, I think that for their purposes, every company is a little different. For their purposes, if you have it posted as something, they will not enter your property. But they will then send that card saying, can we make an appointment to see your property? This one, I kind of went over it, but there is no new revenue that the revaluation is generating. What it's doing is it's taking that total amount of tax and it's distributing it. I like this analogy here at the end when it says, your total tax is your pie. You literally have a pie and we have to dole out this pie to all of you in this room. And what we're doing is based on the value of the property, we're giving you a bigger slice or a smaller slice. So the pie doesn't get any bigger just because of the revaluation. The pie is still that same budget. It's just we're giving different amounts to everyone than they had last year.
We're not getting any more money. What did you just say? We're not getting any?
So a revaluation,
So much more money.
so we're not getting any revenue because of the revaluation.
That doesn't seem to us.
So you get more revenue when so can we go to the next one for a second? I'll explain how a mill rate works. So this is really the definition of, this is how a mill rate works. So the town decides how much money it has to spend in a year. That is how much it's gonna raise, period, end of story, regardless of a revaluation, regardless of what the value is, that's how much it's going to raise. It's not gonna raise more because we have more value. It's gonna raise that much. Then we have the value. So in this example, if we have $10 million that we're spending and we have a $700 million town, that's our total assessed value. Then our mill rate is gonna be $14.29. What I didn't do down here is if we still had that same $10 million to raise and this doubled, the $700 million doubled to 1.4 billion, then that mill rate would drop to like 7.15. So the mill rate is a function of how much money the town is spending and how much value we have for taxable value. So if there's more taxable value, that doesn't change how much we're gonna raise. That still stays the same. So the reval itself is revenue neutral and doesn't raise any money. Any other, yeah, go ahead.
But say your house right now has been assessed by the town, let's say, $10,000. They go and they do a reevaluation, they say, oh, that place is worth $220,000.
Yep.
How can the town not be making more money? Because right now they got passing the school budget, passing the town budget, I believe it's going like $26 or $27 for every 100,000 of value of your house. So now if you look at your house is up to 210,000 after the evaluation, that, let's say $26 is gonna become $52 for every 100,000.
Nope, so that mill rate's gonna drop. So when I would, can we go to the next slide and I'll try and, I think I'm gonna get to it here and I think I'm gonna explain it, and if I don't, I can come, okay? So we have this hypothetical town, we're gonna call it Nicole Town. So Nicole Town is made up of exactly 3 buildings and that's it. It is a home that's worth $200,000. It is a home on the waterfront that's worth $400,000, and it is an office building that's worth $1 million. That's all that's in Nicole Town. There's nothing else in. So we have a total valuation of $1.6 million. Nicole Town needs a budget to run these 3 houses. I don't know what we're doing, but we're doing a lot. We need $20,000. To plow the roads in front of these 3 houses, we need $20,000. So our tax rate, right, is gonna equal that budget divided by that total valuation. So our tax rate is $12.50 per thousand. Go to the next one. So here it is laid out, right? We have a single family home worth $200,000 times the tax rate, they pay $2,500. We have the house on the lake, 400 times the tax rate, they pay 5,000. Now look at it, so they're worth exactly double and they pay double in tax. So that's where we're at. And then we have this huge office building worth $1 million. They pay $12,500 and we collect that total of $20,000. So the town only raises what it needs to raise based on what our values are. Go to the next one. Let's assume here that we have, we did a reval and we found that everyone was exactly 50%. We had to increase everybody by 50% and that was it. That's all we had to do. So each property went up 50%. So we did our $200,000, that one went up to $300,000. The $400,000 lake house went up to $600,000. And the big office building went from $1 million to 1.5. Everybody went up 50%. But our budget stayed exactly the same, right? We still only need $20,000 to plow that road in front of these 3 houses. So our tax rate is again our budget divided by the valuation. It dropped from that 12.5 to 8.33. So it dropped, right? Everybody went up 50%, that tax rate dropped. Go ahead to the next slide. When we take that at our new value and our new tax rate, we come with exactly the same amount of taxes for everybody because everybody went up at that same exact 50%. Does that make sense to everybody? So that's what it is. We still collect that $20,000 because all we needed is $20,000. The values are higher. Everybody's values is exactly 50% higher. The mill rate was lower, but still everyone's taxes are exactly the same. So that's what it is when we have equal reassessment. So let's kind of step back to reality and say that's not exactly what our market probably is going to show us, right? So let's go to the next slide. In reality, what we might see, and I'm not saying this is the case, I'm just using this as an example. Our single family home that's not on the water, that did increase by 50%. That's all it went up. The market showed that, the sales in other towns apparently, because Nicole Town only has 3 towns, but that's what the sales showed. That one went up 50%. The lakefront, it's worth more still. Somebody's paying more money for that. So that went up 55%. And that big office building, there's just not a demand for office anymore. Everybody's working from home. So that one only went up 40%. They all went up, everybody went up, but they didn't go up equally. Our total valuation here is now $2.3 million. So that total valuation changed. Again, we're staying with that same budget. The budget is still $20,000. a really quick way to look at this is when you know your valuation is only going up 45%. Anybody who's above that 45% is still gonna see a tax increase now based on this. But that person that's below that 40% is gonna see a tax decrease. When you don't go, when your increase is not as much as the average increase, then that's when you have a tax decrease. So go ahead, oh, our new tax rate down here is 862. So where it was 833 with just the 50%, now it's 862. So again, we do this, the $300,000 house with the new tax rate, they now have to pay $2,586. So they're up $86. The lake house here is up $344. And even though the value on this one went up, right, by 40%, because of the tax rate, this actually went down. They went down by $432. So that's, again, assuming that there's no budget increase in the town at the same time you have your reval. It is a redistribution. Everybody's piece of the pie changed, but the pie itself, still that $20,000. Does that make a little more sense now when you're seeing that the reval itself doesn't cause a change in how much the town is raising? It's not a change in revenue. It's just a change in how that revenue, how those taxes are distributed around.
Basically.
Right, so these two paid for this ones, right? Because that's what we're looking at. It's a redistribution, right? So there is going to be a redistribution because some areas of town and some different classes of property have increased faster than others in their market, right? There's more demand for that. Can we go to the last slide? This is what I want to look at next is we have varying reassessments again. So we have the 50, the 55, and the 40. But now we're going to see a 5% increase in our budget. Okay, so these are still the same as they were for the last slide, but now we have to raise $21,000 because the snowplow broke and we need money to fix it this year. So we are up 5% down here on our budget. So when we do the same math, we got $21,000 divided by that 2.32 million. It'll come out to $9.05 is what we're paying per thousand. So we're doing the math. Now the annual taxes for the single family home are $27.15. The lake house is at $56.11. And the apartment building, the business is at $12,670. So now everyone's taxes went up because that budget went up. So there's a difference in what is causing when the reval causes a change. It's not an increase in money. But when the budgets go up, obviously, then everybody's taxes. Yes.
You guys foresee the budget going up?
I mean, things cost more every year. I'm just gonna say it out loud. That said, some of the budget, and maybe Kelly can speak to this better, but some of the budget is controlled by us at town meeting and going through the budget process. And a revaluation of the year is not the year to go crazy and spend more money. There are towns that have done that and it doesn't end up well, right? Like it doesn't. But some of that budget is not in our control. So the county tax, that is just a warrant and we are required to pay it. And we have no control over it. And the school budget, we have no control over that one. Now you guys have a little control over that school budget, right? Because you can vote it down if you want to, but it's not something that the town has any
Say,
in, right? The town itself, the town of Oakland doesn't get to say, no, you can't go that high. It is the townspeople that can make that vote and go to those meetings and have their voice heard, but it's not the town itself that we get a warrant from them as well.
and their district budget meeting is Thursday night, by the way, at the 6 o'clock.
Do I expect that there's going to be no budget increase next year? No, I expect we're still going to see a budget increase, right? There was
A small one this year.
this year, again, we're talking 2026 taxes, not this year's taxes. So the budgets for this year are not affecting. They're going to affect your tax bill this year, but they're not going to affect next year.
But you don't get any city services. Then I can take that into consideration.
So taxes are not, they don't take that into consideration. It doesn't have property tax for it. Property taxes say this is what the town needs. And it has to be distributed based on what your property is worth. So there are people who say, well, I don't have any kids. Why should I have to pay that? And we as a society have just said, this is the way we're gonna do things. And it's the tax policy that we have, the law. So That's why we have to pay. Go ahead.
Just wanted to revisit what you said, the value of the market changes. So the market value of everything starts at a decline, and you do another one in 2 years, or 5 years, whatever. That could be in the 325,000 budget in.
I would expect, especially if it happened in the next 5 years, that Christine and I could take care of that in-house because we know we have a good inventory and we could do statistical analysis and we could really work with the numbers that are in the system. Yes.
Road frontage is a measurement also. The evaluation.
So they do your acreage and everything off of your deed usually, or if you have a survey or something like that. So road frontage, I believe the road frontage used to mean a lot, and we really used to use a lot. Now it's, do you have the buildable acre? Do you have a second buildable acre? And if so, you might have a little more, but really it is, we're using acreage values more than we're using road frontage now.
But it seems like I see the expensive street with the main street
So
versus the side street.
absolutely, there's different neighborhoods in town, right? You have neighborhoods that for whatever reason are more desirable than other neighborhoods.
Okay.
And so, but usually it's the acreage, the base acreage that we're really gonna have a difference on. So if you were in a really desirable area of town, maybe your per acre, that first acre is gonna be like $45,000. I'm just throwing numbers out there. Please don't take any of these seriously.
And then there's access.
I mean,
before.
Yeah, but then there's excess after that, right? And if you're on a less desirable street, maybe that first acre isn't worth $45,000, maybe it's only worth $35,000. So that's how those.
ART will figure that out.
Yep.
So the road frontage prices would change.
Yep.
Thanks.
I would expect we would have new cost tables for land and building.
So right now, we're basing everything on what the town passed a couple of weeks ago. And what the school budget has not passed yet. But you go to the school budget, and if that goes up, then everything's gonna go up, right?
Right, I mean, that's how your mill rate's gonna work, right? So if your budget is up and your values are still that same number, then the mill rate's gonna come up.
So we know what our budget is. We know the county went up 55,000. So now we're just waiting on the school. And we add those three numbers together. And then she
This is
does,
more math.
she does her magic. Correct. To be able to pay the municipal budget, all the services that we provide, the school's monthly appropriation and the county tax.
Yes.
Will this help us with our ability to get the full revenue sharing?
I hope so. It's gone down $300,000.
Based on the state valuation. So the state valuation, they're already looking at our local values. They are equalizing those already. So they're bringing us up to 100% based on our sales studies that they do. Will it change it? It depends on what every single other town in the state does too. The revenue sharing, again, just like this, it's a big pie and each town gets a different chunk of that pie. So it's very hard to say what it will do on everyone else too.
So I was more going with, wasn't it last year you had to, I'm gonna use the word arbitrary, but it may not have been arbitrary, but essentially we had to raise the value of the taxes to get above the 70%.
Yeah, so I did raise last year to get above 70%. I'm not doing this year because we know this reval is coming.
Yeah.
We do want to keep as much as close as we can to that 70% because we can lose our tree growth reimbursement that comes from the town if we're below that 70% too. So, and then we also want to give as much of the homestead exemption as we can, right? Everyone's seen that the homestead exemption has come down, right? It's not the full $25,000 that it used to be. So we do want to give as much of that so that that tax relief is targeted to the residents here in Oakland.
So you pay for the school even if you don't have children in it.
Yep.
But you don't pay for the water or sewer. If you don't have it, then you don't have to pay for it.
Right,
That's
so
correct.
those are set up different charter, that they're setting it up different in the charter of those. They're quasi, they're not, I mean, even though,
Sewers run by the sewer users.
Yeah.
That's it. So I live out out of town, I don't have sewer, I have a well, I have a septic. So, cause I'm not a user.
Do I have another slide or no?
You do, you have two more.
So this one is just a down. I should have probably done this right away when you guys were going back. And this one is essentially the old taxes. This is under the varying assessment. And so it's the 50, the 55 and the 40 and that 5% budget increase, just so you can see the revaluation itself changed these two, right? That example, we went through the third example, I think. It changed these two. This one went down and these two paid for that, right? But then this is what the budget did to it. So this is the effect of the budget, that 5% budget increase. So everybody in the end was paying more. I mean, they were only paying $170 more, but the budget itself, because we have a larger value on this one, the budget caused them to have a $600 increase. And then my last slide is just any questions for me? We were already there. Go ahead.
Real estate has been inflated over the last few years, but it's dropped in value somewhat in the communities. How is that assessed?
So they look at current sales is what they're going to be looking at. So they're going to be looking at sales usually between 2000 and April 1st, 2025 and April 1st, 2026 is the ones that they're going to rely heavily on. They would go back further than that. You know, we don't have a lot of, let's say, commercial sales. So they'll go back further than that for some of those other ones, but they'll time adjust them. So if the market has changed in the last year, they will time adjust them down to what they really think the sale price would be now.
So if you have a reservation of if upgrading your house, it'd be smart to wait till after.
The next 2027, I come by and I look at your house and I find your upgrades and then it's just gonna be. So if you want to delay it, maybe, but it's not gonna save you money long term.
Short term as well.
1 year, well, you get 1 year free.
Well, in your example.
Yeah.
My example could be 5 years. That's fine. On the event, if you're not, don't have to be around, I mean, if you leave the state for a couple months and they want to, are they gonna be doing the evaluations all winter?
They're gonna be doing it for a while. The really, really cold months, they probably won't be coming out except for maybe doing interior inspection. But yes, it will be ongoing. It won't be just like 3 weeks and we're all done.
You volunteer to say, hey, I want you to come evaluate my house now. Because I'm thinking about doing something.
Cause I wanna renovate it.
Nate, get your permit, like, let's say they came next week to see your house, and then you went to Nate and you got a permit, they'd come back and visit you again.
How do I
I'm
get out?
sorry. Wait till after you see.
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you just remind everybody of the timeline taking place?
Geez, you had to ask that question, let me think, there's my card right now. So the things for 26, so they're gonna be working on, the data collection for it's gonna take up a lot of time, to be honest with you, and then probably April and May of next year, they're gonna be working on that sales verification and the field review and the valuation. So I would expect that you guys would get your letters from them probably end of June, and then they would have their, informal hearings in July.
When will they start visiting?
They are printing cards, I know, for their thing, so I would assume it's gonna be soon, but like I said, you are gonna get that notice in the mail that says we're gonna be in your area in the next 45 days. If you haven't gotten one of those yet, not yet. But they have,
That's what I was most interested in.
Yeah.
That's because that's the question I get the most
Yeah.
is, when will they start coming?
they will send out that thing that says in the next 45 days, so you should have a little bit of.
Essentially this summer.
This summer, into fall, summer into fall is when I really expect it to happen.
So nobody's had theirs assessed already?
No, not by the,
You see people say they wanna raise mine so much. That's not true.
not in town, no.
Okay.
What is actually classified as a shed?
If it looks like a shed and it cracks like a shed, it's a shed.
Construction, that still falls the same thing.
You know, our shed,
I just said from a company that dropped it off, you know what I mean?
Yes,
If someone's not
It's
anymore.
not yours and it's just rented, or if it's like let's say it's a car, one of those carports with the flimsy sides, those are not sheds. Like sheds are made of wood.
What about like an Onyx, a truck body, you know?
So if it's like a truck,
No box, no, just a box.
so it's just a storage container, no, that's not a shed.
It's on skis.
Still a shed. Acts like we had, yes,
There's a lot of people in town that are either elderly or live alone, and will these people be identified so that they will know who's
Yep.
entering their properties?
so they will wear,
Safety purposes.
they will wear identification, they will have a clipboard, just so you know. They will also have a letter, they request letters from the PD that they can show to people. So it will be our Oakland letterhead from the PD saying that they are here for this purpose.
Can the town have a list of the employees that will be visiting so that the seniors or whoever want to call in and ask, is this person part of that?
Absolutely, we will.
And
And they
can still always refuse to have them come in and set up an appointment for later.
They can always set up an appointment later, and they can always call me if they are comfortable with me coming into their home. I can do it too. And relay the information to them. Yes.
Was there, or will there be a way for you to display the pictures of these people on either town site or something like that, so that people can see, yes, I verified it, because all that documentation can be fake.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a good idea that when they have somebody new, that we put them on our websites or on Facebook page or something like that, saying that they usually, I'm trying to think, I believe on their website, it'll say these are our data collectors. They have a website that will be just for Oakland. And it will show where they're visiting, and it's not up again, but it will show different things at different times. It'll show where they're already complete in this area, and it'll have their pictures on there as well. And I think they do make and model of their cars.
And we'll have that linked off our website.
I'm the same, but some elderly people still don't have computers.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep.
That's what it takes a village.
You know, we do the best we can to get the word out the best we can.
Yeah.
Usually if they're in your area, there's gonna be like, it's like a palm tree. You must hear it, no one grow it. But question back here.
I just want to know, like, do you know when they start their day, like, you know, they're gonna knock on your door at what, you know, hour?
I will just tell you what I've heard from other assessors. What I've heard from other assessors is they start their day, they come into the town office and get that organized of where they're gonna go. So it's after like the hour. I don't expect them before 8 o'clock in your homes, to be honest with you. If it's before 9, I'd be surprised.
Okay, and then they will stop. 5, 6.
I don't know the answer to that for sure, but I would assume it's right around business hours. I don't think they're gonna stay late at night and come visit you at 8 o'clock at night or anything like that.
What about all the people that work?
Well, that's why they send those, you know, if they don't catch you when you're home, they do send that postcard saying, doing these have interior inspection. Yes, sir.
You may have already touched on, maybe I didn't catch it, but say you have an average house, but the house next to you is like serious repair, would that take down the value of your house on this assessment?
It depends, and it really what it depends on is the market, do the sales show that that's happening. So we have a few areas of town where that's true, and I haven't, the houses on the rest of the street are being affected by it. If you were like next to like, I can't think that.
Yeah, if your house, yeah, ordinary house. Beside you, like, that house sold for $600,000 for some ungodly reason. Somebody from Massachusetts decided, hey, this is the bargain, but you still live in this little house right beside you. How is that gonna affect? Am I gonna get whacked because he paid $600,000?
So we're looking at the market. If it's one sale that's really out of whack, it might not. But if the market shows that this is what the things are selling for consistently, then yours is going to be valued in accordance with that. Now, if they have a really nice house and you have a just average house, right? there's gonna be a difference in that. Same, let's say it's same square footage. You have 1,000 square feet, they have 1,000 square, but those are like really nicely finished, just perfectly finished. And yours is just average. Obviously, there's still gonna be a difference there. We're not gonna value them at the same price.
Footage right on the lake. Right, lake footage means is a huge thing.
Yeah.
If they own 500 feet or if they own 200 feet on the lake.
We're seeing more and more lately that the access to the lake is the important thing and not so much and not so much how much access they have. It's that there is access. There's some showing, and it's hard, right? You look at a sales and you're saying, why did this one sell for this much? And then you have to take out the building and say, okay, this is what the building is worth. And then get down to the nitty gritty of the land. But some of it shows that it's more that they have access to the lake than how much access they have, how much frontage. Yes, sir.
When you're looking at other houses for what they're selling for, are you within a certain radius of your house that they're looking?
They want to make sure it's in the same like type neighborhoods. So you wouldn't compare, let's say, downtown Hubbard Street and I'm gonna pick on you, Nate, but the East Side Trail. Like you wouldn't compare those and say those are the same neighborhood because they're not the same neighborhood. There's different stuff. But they are gonna look for neighborhoods and see what different areas that are selling for more and less.
Say like that, if your house has deeded access, but does not live on them.
Yeah. So, okay, let me ask you this. If I had a house that was off the lake and Kelly had a house that was off the lake but had deeded access to the lake, which one would you pay more for?
So if the property that you're going, you have deeded access to, pays taxes, if it's the house with access to the property, you'll pay more.
It depends what the market is showing, right? Are they selling for more than houses that aren't on, or don't have that? Like properties, right? Like you have to take out, like you want to have,
Living on the property, on the lake, then more for the guy that owns.
it depends. Usually if you just have like a common lot on the lake, a lot of times what they're doing, because right, it's a common lot and there's 17, 18, 20, 40, 50 different owners of that lot, right? So a lot of times it's in the value of the actual house lot, and then that front lot isn't valued at all. But I don't know of the particular that you're talking about, so I can't give you the particular.
You said earlier the comparables are only gonna be coming from Oakland, they're not gonna go out Waterville or.
We're looking at open sales.
And so that's why they may have to go back 2, 3, 4 years to find a comparable.
Right, and mind you, it's not a perfect system because we don't have sales of every single pipe every single year, and we don't have it every 5 years. So there is gonna be a certain amount of just using your general knowledge of how assessing works in other places as well, and saying this is what we think it's gonna be. Yes, ma'am.
So what is kind of scary to me? So your house is valued, let's just say, just 5 years ago, 350,000. But the inflated sales that has been happening the last couple of years.
Right, the market, yeah.
Right. Now your house is worth, according to Zillow, 700,000. So even when you use different approaches, the cost approach is way more expensive than when we built our house previously. And now the sales, I just don't see.
Right, so like I said, there's gonna be a new distribution of this pie that we have, our tax pie. We're gonna take our slices, and our slice might have been this big and now it's this big, or what? Right. What have you? How, I can't tell you what that's gonna be yet. I don't know, right? It depends on what we get for everything. There is gonna be a redistribution. Everybody, for the most part, in Oakland is assessed low right now. We don't have a lot that's assessed where it should be.
As an example, last year on tax from $5,600. This year they went out to 67.
Yep.
Just in 1 year.
right?
So now I'm thinking, let me play there.
Can you go back just a little bit? Remember, so part of that, and we did do an increase in some, in values last year, right? So can you go back one slide? So, oh, no. There you go. Part of it's due to the new values, right? So part of it's due to the values, but part of it is due to that budget. So our budget was up a ton last year. The school budget was up,
325,000. And the county went from 725,000 to over 1 million. So it's $600,000 right there for the school and the county. 6-7%.
I don't know how much it was a percentage wise, but it was a lot of money in 1 year.
Actually, they went up 9.
Oh, goodness.
It's
Good
9.
question. I don't have that. I don't have the percentage in front of me.
They've over 100,000.
Right, whatever percentage it is, but our portion of the county budget was up $300,000. Just our portion, just Oakland.
And that's divided everybody.
You can,
And Kennebec County was up a lot last year.
and you adjusted values, so that's,
So there was some of the revalue, like, right, so we didn't do a revaluation, but we did do adjusting of those values. We brought them up a little bit so that it wasn't such a hard bill this next year. But yeah.
So it really go up and, you know, we have the opportunity to go to the informal hearing, complete our case. And if we lose that and can't afford to live in or more, we just sell our house and.
Remember, like, just remember, like, because I think a lot of people, what they see is they're like, well, my house value is going to double, and so my taxes are gonna double. And remember, that's not necessarily true, because that mill rate will change. It's not going to be the same mill rate that it was last year. Yep. Yes.
So in theory, thinking about the pie example, some slices would go down. Is there any trend in the other towns that have done reevaluations of like a theme of whose taxes would go down, or is somebody seeing?
I'm probably not gonna make anybody happy when I say this, but we have seen that the residential real estate market has gone crazy. We haven't seen the same increases. There's still increases, but we haven't seen the same increases in the commercial real estate market. Now, we don't have a ton of commercial here in town, right? We're not Waterville that has a ton of commercial. So, a lot of what we do have is residential. So a lot of what we have will be going up, more than the average. Some of our very much older properties, that have a lot of deterioration, I would probably say those ones probably won't go up as much as well, so. I don't know for sure, but certainly the residential market is hot compared to the market.
Why is this going on?
It's just what the market supply and demand.
It's not because of COVID, everybody decided to get out of their state.
It's all supply and demand. It really is.
Because everybody's leaving New York and Haverhill and Boston and they're moving to Maine.
I when that happens, it makes a market, right? That is what our market is. It's unfortunate. I don't like it either.
So you keep saying the market, so you're pre-taxing us on what you think a house will sell for.
Based on what other houses actually are.
Right, so so if the house doesn't sell for that much, then you pay taxes on it all these years. On an inflated market price.
Why wouldn't it sell for that much?
I don't know. It's just like if I own, if it's like if I own Apple and it drops and you tax me on last year's taxes. And then I'm paying taxes that I didn't, that weren't even there.
Right, I mean, same, right, like same thing, if you're looking at it that way, we have some people that are assessed, let's say you're assessed at 70% of market value right now, we have some people assessed at 65% of market value right now, we have some people that are assessed at 50%. So those people that are assessed at 70% of market are technically paying more of that pie than they should. And that's not fair either. So what we're trying to do is get everybody to 100% of market, so that everybody's paying their slice of the pie that they should.
Yes, if you're in Oakland property, you really have to get screwed.
I don't know the answer to that question, like, Is the waterfront up? Yeah, waterfront's up, but you know what? Houses on the non-waterfront are selling for a lot of money compared to what they were 5 years ago too. I mean, it's. Everything's exploding. There's not in Maine in general, right? There's not a lot of inventory. And so. When you're looking for an affordable place to live, you're paying a lot for that too. We've seen some mobile home sales and some double wide sales that I am just like floored by. Because I can't believe the amount of money they're getting for them. Yeah,
People in Oakland, living off the social security. And how much does that give up each year compared to what you want to get? A bill for taxes, I mean.
I hear you.
Fair, that's not fair.
I hear you. So
So
remember,
there's a lot of people on social security in Oakland. And you're gonna raise the taxes on those guys? That's not right.
well, I don't know if I'm going to. I mean, it depends if they are,
Well, if you look at the value of property, you're saying this.
so value of property,
Income's not going up.
right? But if your value of your property only increased, in my example, if the value of your property increased less than the average increase, let's say the average increase was 50% and yours is only 40%, then your taxes are going down for the revaluation.
This should be.
I hear you, and there's a lot of tax policy that,
In their income. Where you tax them. That's what all I'm saying.
I do understand what you're saying.
Okay.
But you do all have the right and the ability to participate in the budget process that dictates what our mill rate will be. And, you know, what our mill rate will be, but what. And out of 63,100 people in the town of Oakland, there was 100 people there. Okay, at any budget meeting that happened this year, there were budget members and council members there, and maybe one or two that weren't even town employees that came. They were town, so you have the ability to be a part of this process. When you go to town meeting, you see that one final number. It takes us a long time to get to that one final number of putting things in and taking things out. And it's 12 people and 5 people making that decision. For you, the 6,400 people. So participate, speak up, ask questions, get a copy of the budget, go through it and look at it, and then send a council member or budget member a question and say, hey, I don't understand. Why are they gonna buy 6 dogs? Why? What if we need 6 dogs?
Why are you allowing only 300 people to vote the whole town budget?
Because that's all that shows up.
There should be a report in place that have so many people to pass this budget, that vote on this budget, not just.
The town charter dictates that we have a town meeting.
It's in our charter that we have a town meeting form of government. We can change that. We'd have to redo the charter
How do you?
to have a referendum to, like the school does, and do a paper
Yes.
show of hands.
So somebody's building up.
Well, when you're looking at
It's,
Rome, it doesn't take much to figure out that 95% of them voted in favor of it, and then 2 people put their hands up against it.
My other question is, that, but they wanted, new town office, new police station and the fire station. They were voted down by the voters.
yeah,
So then they re-strategized and went after the police station, fire station. They went out one at a time. So even though the voters voted it down, they went at it a different way.
they wouldn't pass a $4 million combined public safety building, so we went one at a time. And we took the worst building first, which was the police station. We had a building committee, went to vote in November by the citizens, and they passed it. Then we were done that, then we reassessed the fire station, which was, we outgrew that. Our trucks wouldn't even fit in the bays. So then we did this one. And the long-term plan is to have a campus. Fire, police and town office. And part of that plan was buying that house, which we did last summer. We had a special town meeting. Citizens came, they voted to spend reserve money. So it wasn't tax money, it was reserve money, specifically for municipal property. And so now we have the house is gone. So it's steps that we're taking, to get a
That
new.
doesn't, raise the mill rate over a period of years by you, adding these. Like, everybody said, well, the same pie is distributed, but if the pie gets bigger, it's like, well, maybe we can do a little bit extra here, or we can do a little bit extra there because we have more of the pie. The pie just rounded up a little bit, it's got more stuffing in it.
Right. But the pie only gets bigger because the voters vote for it too. So remember that.
Right.
Like, it's voted on town meeting.
Good. And they just voiced it, well, and she's right. You have a town meeting, 100 people show up, they vote, that's the budget.
If they can get 100. The town meeting that I went to, there was 9 of us.
So what time of the town meeting?
It was 6 o'clock. It's always the,
What, somebody had to 7 or 8, or they worked all day. Why is there like, voting thing, we go to the voting?
because that would mean a change in our charter.
Which is like our constitution.
And how old is the charter?
It hasn't been reviewed in 20 years.
I mean, it might be something that you might want to ask, would it be easier for people to come to a voting thing or go to a town meeting?
Oh, I agree. I think voting, checking a box. Yeah,
Propose that, and then follow through. If nobody knows what we.
but we're doing a charter review to change the charter is a 3-year process.
Yes, sir.
Good question. You mentioned earlier that when they do next revaluation, the people that are doing it, but they also look at like the market value. So I would like somebody had mentioned like Zillow or other real estate places online. So they use these different websites also. A big market value. What it's about.
So we look at actual sold property, what we look at.
Actually sold
Actually sold properties is what we're building these models on.
on any one of these websites. They might say a house worth 400,000. If you want to know what 200,000.
We look at sold, actual sales. And build the models off the actual sale ones. We don't look at one that is for sale and
Hasn't sold.
hasn't sold yet.
And it's
Or
only
is
one
it for
state.
sale and just Zillow says it's worth so much money, right? They're using models behind the scenes in Zillow, but I don't know what those are. Quite frankly, I wouldn't trust them. Because I know the data of my town better than that.
That's what I was just gonna say. They're only comparing sales
You
from
know,
the town. board.
To me, it's not the town, it's the school itself. That's the bottom. What you guys do is fantastic, in my opinion.
thank you.
You really do. It's the school it's out of control. And then when you make your voting, it's only if they have.
Well, Thursday's the budget, district budget meeting. June 11th, I think it's the second Tuesday is the vote, which should be right here. It's a paper vote.
Do we have any further questions about the revaluation?
I just wanted to kind of touch base again, because I know a lot of people are very nervous about having people in their house. I mean, even me having my husband at home with me, I still get nervous. Even people I know. But you had stated that there's several things that they could do. They could call you and have you come over and do the evaluation and walk through. Or they could just look at the card with you and verify the information is correct. Now, if they decide to do that before people come out to go visiting around, will you have a list of properties, people that have requested for that instead of for them to come to the house?
I would rather do it after they go out and have people call me at that point.
It's just being like,
It's a lot of logistics and
yeah,
they have a lot of different people visiting sites together. It's hard to keep track.
okay.
You know,
But people could just simply not answer the door. Get the
Or,
card put in the door, and then they can call you and say they stopped by. Can you do it, or can I look at the card? I just wanted to make sure that that's very clear for anybody who might be watching and everything later, because I know there's a lot of people who are nervous and, you know, need to know that they have options and not necessarily have to have internet or email or anything like that. They can just pick up a landline and.
yep, and I am available anytime if you guys think of a question on your way home, because that's when I think of all my questions and all the things I should have told you is when I'm driving home. If you think of it, give me a call. I'm around.
So
Hard online.
it is, I'm going there right now, so,
Call up, something on you.
hold on. Why can't you see it?
You have to stay by it or just talk.
For me, part of it is I worry about people getting scammed.
No,
You know, then knowing that we're gonna have an evaluation in our town, the scammers might come to town too, so I just
So
try to make sure. I protect that.
Go to our website and then click on assessing and scroll down to our Oakland GIS map. And you can put in
And again, for people who don't have computer access, they can.
What line?
141 Fairfield.
All right.
Oh, I learned how to spell.
So it's this one. So when you get to your property on here, you type in your address up here, you come down here and it says property record card right here. That's what you want to click on. And it's gonna bring up your, hopefully it does, yay. Brings up your property record card. So Kelly, we haven't, they're old property record cards, right? We haven't had a full revaluation in years and years and years. The front of this card is talking about the things that are happening on your land. So the zoning and that kind of stuff, that's more information for me than it is for you guys. But down on the bottom here is where we have your acreage. So we have her for a total of 2.16 acres. And then this is the back of the card. So this is her house. We have a little sketch of it. We measure out. So we measure out the house and then it looks like a deck or a porch or something. I can't tell because it's blurry, but so she has a 1 3/4 story home and it has a basement underneath it. And then she has a deck or a porch. The picture is going to be down here. And then this is all the data we have, right? It's a Cape style home. It's got one dwelling unit in it. So if you had like an in-law apartment or something downstairs, they would have that second dwelling unit in it there. You got your story height. We have the exterior walls on hers. They are vinyl. So it's got the year built, all those things about your house. So it's got the number of bathrooms, it's got the number of bedrooms, all the information on there. So you can view them online anytime. And also if there's something wrong on it now, like if there's something wrong on it now, I'd love to know now so that I can correct it so that it's right for this tax bill that's coming out. Any other questions for me tonight? Yes.
Just been a question. So if there's something that it isn't on that, like there wasn't a permit for a deck that was put on, right? Is there a, charge for that? Like if there's something that we were supposed to get a permit for in the previous.
Nate?
A new chapter. I didn't get your question.
If there was something that was supposed to be permitted, like you had, there was a deck there that was on the card. Like if there's a deck there, they didn't know that there was supposed to be a permit for, are we charged for that? Like sure, for that or?
Usually not, if it's something very, like if you built a whole brand new house and you never got a permit for it, they might come and have a conversation with you, but.
On the lake, yeah.
The public has been great. Very helpful. Alright, I want to say thank you guys all for coming. If you do, think of a question, give me a call. I'm always available. Thank you.